Now, how about them damn Celtics?
And we are back with another episode of How About Them Celtics. Sam and I are recording Friday, February 28th, after the Celtics loss to the Cleveland Cavaliers, up 23-5, I believe it was, early in the game. No, 25-3, sorry, 22-point lead, 25-3. Ended up losing 123 to 116. A very tough loss for the Celtics. Cavs just stormed back all throughout the game, made a steadily deconstructed their lead, and the Celtics couldn't hang on. Weird game, tough game. Some stuff happened that we'll talk about, obviously, because that's how it works. But yeah, back-to-back losses for the first time for the Celtics in a long time.
Yeah, I mean this game. I mean, it was a good game. It was a game that you really felt like they would win, especially when they went up by a billion. Right? That's just kind of how. Even though this was a discussion point in the post game press conferences, like Noah asked questions about this. When you go up so big so early, it's not a disadvantage per se, but the actual objective of the game kind of changes, and it puts them in a weird spot. And they didn't handle it very well today, even though they did let the Cavs come all the way back, and then they rebuilt the lead, and then they lost it all the way again by the end of the game. I mean, you got incredible games from Tatum and Brown and Donovan Mitchell. Like, this was a game that everybody clearly cared about. It was a really fun one to watch. Like, if you're like a casual NBA fan and like you want to see stars, this was the game for you. It was awesome. You had all of it. And unfortunately the Celtics just didn't execute well enough down the stretch. They didn't finish defensive possessions well enough, and they had their weaknesses get targeted on the end of the floor, and they ended up losing. They weren't able to finish it off.
It was a tough game. I was doing some research for the video I'm going to make in the morning tomorrow about this game. It was going to be a really fun one about some good stuff. No longer going to be that because they lost. They had 7 offensive rebounds in the fourth quarter, but they only scored 5 points off those 7 offensive rebounds. It was kind of an inflated stat. 3 of them came on the same possession. Celtics forced a shot clock violation on one that had 2 offensive rebounds on the same possession. Those actually didn't matter as much as it felt like in the moment, outside of maybe the momentum or oh, this hurts the run. They didn't actually matter towards the score of the game. I'm in the process of looking at stuff, but my new theory is the Cavs did a phenomenal job of taking the mismatches they wanted on one end while taking away the mismatches the Celtics wanted on the other end. And that sounds super broad and super basic. And part of it is I'm going to explain it in the video tomorrow, so I'm not going to talk about it all here. I will, because they're going to be out or similar time frame anyways, and it's different forms of content, short, long form, whatever. Donovan Mitchell took 9 shots in the first half, took 13 shots in the second half, but 17 shots in the second half, sorry. And 9 in the first half. But from the 2:15 mark of the third quarter on, he took 13 of those 17 shots. So it was, I'm going to take the ball. I'm going to dominate the ball. I'm going to pick on Sam Hauser. I'm going to pick on Horford and Cornette. I'm going to, do what I want. And then on the other end, they went to no bigs on the floor lineup for 3 minutes. And so there was no big man for Tatum to switch on. And they went to Jaylen Brown target Darius Garland, which worked earlier in the game, but Jaylen had a couple turnovers, wasn't as effective late in the game. They did a good job of cramming the floor inside, and they didn't make the right reads at times. So the Cavs just did a really good job of doing all the little nitty gritty granular things that it almost felt weird that they were winning late in the game. There wasn't any, in my opinion, at least, huge run that they went on. It was a steady climb back into this game after that initial lead. And like you mentioned, and I agree with this thought process, a lead like that starts off like this is probably not going to continue, right? I always go back to the Nets game from 3 years ago at this point, where they were up big in the first half because they made all the layups but couldn't hit anything, or the Nets missed a bunch of layups, whatever. Water finds its level, and that was always going to happen. The Celtics were red hot to start this game. The Cavs were turning the ball over like crazy. Those things were bound to offset. The Celtics weren't going to shoot that hot for the whole game. The Cavs weren't going to make silly mistakes the whole game. That shit happens. That's not the problem, because the Celtics bounced back from that. The Cavs brought it all the way down to a tie game or close to it, and then the Celtics, it was the bend don't break. They didn't break. They went back up to a 15-plus point lead in the third quarter, but then it gets down to those last few minutes of the third quarter and into the fourth where it really starts to okay, the Cavs have finally found something that worked, and they took away some of those mismatches Tatum was hunting. They started targeting Sam Hauser pretty relentlessly, and he held up really well, I thought, for most of the game, but the fourth quarter came around, and once they did it over and over and over again, it was just bound to kind of crumble a little bit. So They give Cavs all the credit in the world, right? This isn't a game where you look at it and you're like, oh, they didn't have KP and Drew. They were in position to win the game, like, and I don't even like believe it in the sense of I know you always say like, oh, you're there to win. It's just in the sense of they played good enough basketball to win this game to the point where that didn't matter as much. Like they had a formula to win. The Cavs just did a good job of taking them out of the formula, right? This wasn't a like I don't know. It's similar to what you say, but I don't mean it like in the general sense of, fuck them, like whatever, blah blah blah. Like I don't mean it in the screamy way you mean it. I mean it more in the sense of the Cavs did a good job of taking away the formula that was working. And so maybe there's an element to it that they didn't have other things to go to. Because like realistically, like if you really want to talk about it, Sam's not on the floor if if they had those guys, right? So there's that.
Maybe I should have been.
Hauser, whatever. Say Hauser wouldn't be on the floor. Or, when they took away the Tatum mismatch stuff, you would have had the Jaylen Brown Kristaps pick and roll instead of the Jaylen Brown Derek. Like, there's obviously stuff you can talk about that would have made a difference. But the Celtics just didn't respond well enough to the adjustments that Kenny Atkinson and the Cavs made. They deserve a ton of credit for that. My point is, don't take away from what the Cavs did, because they did a phenomenal fucking job winning this basketball game.
They did. They absolutely did. Donovan Mitchell was exceptional. Donovan Mitchell is a certified Celtic killer. He averages more points than anybody ever against the Celtics. He's averaged, or not averaged, since joining the Cavs, he's played 10 regular season games against the Celtics. He has scored 44 times. He has scored 38 times. He has never scored less than 25. He has been nothing less than fantastic anytime he plays the Celtics. Nobody should be surprised by what they saw today. The only other game the Celtics lost to Cleveland this year, they lost the same way. Donovan Mitchell said, I'm going to win this game for my team. And the Cavs said, okay, go ahead and win it for us. And they did. The Celtics really didn't have a great response the second time the Cavs made a push. Like, they did a really, really good job. First half, Cavs cut it to, I think, 1. And then they ballooned it back up. I think it got back to 17, I think Jaylen said. Third quarter, end of the third quarter, 2 minutes left. Celtics up 11. Donovan Mitchell rips off an 8-0 personal run. And that was kind of when it started to really feel like they were losing control of the game because they just couldn't stop him. He was making threes. I don't know if he missed any of the right-handed floaters he was taking. He was great on those. He had a loud dunk. He just took over this game. And he ended up with Hauser on him a few times. A couple of his buckets came on Derek. Like, it was kind of I don't even want to call it a lapse. He just really took care of whoever was in front of him and got buckets for the Cavs when they needed him. He made all the timely shots. The Celtics stopped making timely shots. And it gets to a point in a game where you can only make so many timely shots. The Cavs used all of theirs in the second half. It felt like the Celtics made theirs the first time Cleveland pushed back. And they just kind of ran out of steam. Like Tatum, he had an incredible game. He only had 6 points in the fourth quarter. Not to take away from the other 40 that he scored for the rest of the game because he was great. Jaylen didn't really do a whole lot in the fourth quarter. He made a couple shots, but like they only scored 18 as a team in the fourth. That's just not good enough. They get addicted to hunting these mismatches, and it is effective, but it shouldn't be the only thing you're doing in these moments. And like we've talked years past about late game offense, and they should do this and they should do that. And I don't really think that's what this is. It's just you should have it should almost be like a fake sometimes. You should run like a fake. We're going to try and get the switch. Because when it's not working every single time like it felt like it was for the Cavs, you can probably get away with forcing the ball around or moving the ball around and making the defense work that way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and on the Tatum point, the box score is very deceptive. Jayson Tatum shot 3 of 8 in the fourth quarter, right? That's what the box score tell you.
There was
four of those shots were missed a layup, tip, miss, tip, miss, tip in. So really, he took 5 shots in the fourth quarter, and he took
Andre Drummond numbers too.
Mm-hmm. And he took 0 shots in the last 4 minutes of the game, or 1 shot in the last 4 minutes of the game, and it was with 26 seconds left, and it was a frantic, we need a bucket, holy shit, I need to take a 3 here, and he missed it, right? And it was a fine shot, he just airballed it, he didn't have the legs, it was awkward. Like I said, the Cavs did a phenomenal job of almost baiting the Celtics into taking other matchups. They switched off the ball so Mobley wouldn't get the switch onto Tatum. They switched off the ball so Garland, whatever, wouldn't get the switch onto Tatum. And it got down to Jaylen Brown, and he wasn't super great in the fourth quarter. He had a turnover. He had a couple plays that were less than, ideal, but he was fine. He had 10 points. It was whatever. They didn't have enough guys like in a rhythm, it felt like at that point, which I agree with what Joe said. Gary basically asked him, like, what's the balance of trying to get other guys going? Like, why isn't this person doing this, or why isn't that person doing that? And Joe was basically like, we take the right shots in the right places at the right times, and that is it. And for 80% of this game, the right shot in the right place at the right time was Jaylen or Jayson attacking a mismatch. They fucking exposed this defense, right? If Celtics fans want anything to take away from this, the Celtics can get a bucket on the Cavs a lot. Like, if you want a positive, and this was what my video was going to be about, and I'll still make it at some point, but it can't be today because they lost. Mobley and Allen cannot guard Jayson and Jaylen, especially Jayson. They cannot. All of my game notes from this game was timestamp, quarter, person who shot it, Jared Allen got cooked. Evan Mobley got cooked. Like, it was a free roam to the point where Kenny Atkinson ran a lineup later in this game that was like Donovan Mitchell, Darius Garland, DeAndre Hunter, Ty Jerome, and Isaac Okoro. Like, he was running no bigs, right? And then he had to go to one big, which is ironic because he was asked before the game about, is Jared Allen okay not closing games? He cannot close games in this series. If this becomes a series, he cannot close games against Celtics. He cannot guard. And I do think there's a level of this that, like, yeah, you did miss those guys in Porzingis and Hauser because the Cavs didn't shoot well in the fourth quarter. They shot 10 of 26 and 4 of 11. So, like, with a free sticking point on defense and Sam Hauser, who, like I said, I don't think he did as good as it'll make him look, or as bad as this game will make him look, but he couldn't hang with Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland. He just couldn't, right?
No, he could not.
Especially offensively, you need those guys to give you a little bit more. You like not the guys on the floor. Like, you need Kristaps Porzingis in game so you can have another mismatch, so you can create more stuff where there's more pressure on these guys. Because maybe you need Allen out there, or they can guard Mobley with Porzingis because you can't guard him with anyone else. Like, that's the stuff that unlocks here. But for the Celtics, it felt like they needed to work harder to get Tatum the ball in the fourth quarter in the last few minutes. They needed to work harder to get him those mismatches anyways. They needed to let him attack even if it wasn't a fucking mismatch, because he was hot enough where everything's a mismatch. Who fucking cares if he goes at DeAndre Hunter? Who cares if he goes at this person? Give him the ball. I'm sorry. Motherfucker had 46. Let me see. I'm sorry. I got to read this out. Dude had 46 points, 16 rebounds, 9 assists, and 3 blocks, and he didn't take a shot in the last 4 minutes. That's not okay. That's pretty fucking unacceptable. I don't care if you have to attack whoever's guarding you. There is nobody on this Cavs team that I think is good enough to guard Tatum one-on-one in space that they shouldn't be going to it. And credit the Cavs for making the Celtics feel comfortable with other matchups. And this is a theory that I'm probably going to run with. But yeah, well, this is a theory I'm going to run with. Like, they guarded Sam Hauser a lot earlier in this game. And Noah and I were talking upstairs, and I was wondering, like, I wonder if they're guarding him with Darius Garland, because they know Sam Hauser can do a good enough job on him. And Darius Garland took more shots than Donovan Mitchell in the first half by like 5. Great. If you're the Celtics, fuck yeah, I'm down. I'd love that. Baiting them into playing through a different guy than beats you. And then once they figured, let's stop fucking doing that, then you get the Donovan Mitchell you did in the fourth quarter. But then the Celtics fell into the same trap. This is probably what is going to be my video rant tomorrow. Like, they fell into almost the same trap that they baited the Cavs into playing in the first half. And it worked. And this is not like, oh my God, the Celtics are fucking morons. It is a good job Cavs for doing it. And I do think there's a difference. Like, the Celtics should feel comfortable with Jaylen Brown attacking Darius Garland, in space. They should feel comfortable with him attacking Dean Wade in space. But they didn't do a good enough job getting him shots off of those mismatches. So this isn't a game where you look at and say, oh my God, they're screwed in the playoffs, you're going to lose. It's not a game where you look at, oh my God, they're the worst team in the world now, they're fucked, right? It happens. Losses happen. Honestly, remember the whole last season, we're like, oh, look at, they've only lost twice in a row once. And then around this time of year, they're like, oh, we're getting a few more of those popping up. Look at that. Same point in the season, same things happening. It is what it is. But this Cavs team is very good. If I'm picking a playoff series, I still think the Celtics have the advantage. But Donovan Mitchell, like you said, is a motherfucker.
See, Donovan Mitchell is at the point where it's just like they have a guy that you should be afraid of now. I don't think they really have more than one guy. Like, Garland had a couple big makes in this game. He didn't even finish the game on the floor, so I can't see off the top of my head. He had 20. He finished with 20. He was 9 of 23. Like, stand by. I don't think I've ever seen this guy play a good game against the Celtics. I just don't think I have. Mobley was pretty good. He had some impactful moments in this game. He was really good on the glass, and he was. I mean, you talked about the early offensive rebounds in the fourth quarter, and as much as they didn't result in points, I do think it kind of killed any kind of like rhythm the Celtics were trying to build, because it was just like, man, we cannot get off this side of the floor. Like, it might have tired their legs out. Like, they had to defend for another 14 seconds at a time. Like, it's not nothing. It wasn't the end all be all. I don't know if it was the deciding factor. It certainly was an advantage for Cleveland, even though they didn't necessarily capitalize on it. In a playoff series, I feel not worse, but this was like a chance for the Celtics to be like, nothing to worry about. Like, that's what it looked like. The first 4 minutes of this game was like, place was on fire. They weren't missing any shots. Cleveland was in shambles. They had the stadium pulse going. They had no idea what was going on. They looked like they were outmatched. Tatum was doing the thing. He was like, get him out of here, which is all over Twitter now, by the way. That's all anyone can tweet is Tatum saying that. And it was like, it literally looked like it was going to be a rout. Like, I was like, oh my God, like, the Celtics have built a track record for themselves this season before this game of when they're playing against a team that people are telling them that they need to show up against, they usually do it. Like, they lost the OKC game, which is like the most glaring one, but they still like played really well for the first half and just couldn't shoot the ball in the second half. Today it was they couldn't score. They kind of just got out of a rhythm. They really couldn't stop Mitchell. I do think they really missed Holiday on the perimeter defending, because Hauser, whether he was bad the whole time or not, didn't have his legs at the end of the game. He probably wasn't. I mean, he's still coming off a back injury where he hasn't been able to play as much, and he's still getting his conditioning back to an extent. I'm sure he wasn't feeling great during that. It was just, I don't want to say it's nothing lost. Like, the Cavs had to do things to win this game. And they did. Like, they showed us all something today. They showed us they're not really scared. Like, this was a scary situation for a visiting team to be. I think Tatum talked about it at the podium. He was like, this is like a hard thing to do. You don't go on the road and come back from 25 down very often. Like, that's impressive.
I mean, back to the Hauser point thing, and absolutely credit Caps. I mean, I said it a bunch. Like, phenomenal game by then. It's fucking exhausting having to do what he did. Like, listen, Derek White, phenomenal defender, amazing defender. Drew Holiday, amazing defender. Jayson Tatum, Jaylen Brown, amazing defenders. No one is attacking those guys like the Cavs attacked Sam Hauser tonight. Like, the level of stamina you have to have if you're Sam Hauser to do that is insane. And at the like, he held up okay for the first few possessions, and in the fourth quarter got to the point where he was like cooked. Yeah, no shit. His legs are jello, bro. He's getting attacked literally every 30 seconds. He is having to sprint and move his feet and exert all of the energy in his body to keep up with the best players in the world. Like, that is an exhausting experience. And the Cavs did a good job exploiting it, just like the Cavs did a good job of preventing Tatum from taking the ball a lot, or preventing, whatever, from getting the matchups they wanted. And this game felt like a chess match more than any other game I've watched this season, which, like you said at the start of the show, phenomenal for a neutral viewer. This, like, if this series happened, I don't know how many games you could go, whatever.
They
like
would piss me off. That's for sure.
Sure.
Oh, this is
But,
great.
like,
I want 7 games of this, please.
But, like,
Shut
the
up.
whole point is, like, seeing a matchup like this is very entertaining, because you could tell both coaches were throwing out shit that they're like, let's do this, let's change this, you change this, we'll change this. You do, like, it was very much that type of matchup, and it was fun to watch. It was fun to see unfold. And I put this in an article I wrote about after the game about how they, like, steadily deconstructed the lead. If you want a positive spin to this, outside of the one I said, I forget what I said earlier, like the Celtics can score, whatever. If you want the Joe Mazzulla spin, if they had kept that lead at the start, they'd have no fucking tape for the playoffs. They got plenty of tape now. They got plenty of shit to review if you want to talk about it that way.
Mazzulla, kind of interested. I'm not gonna like ring this bell very often. I'm interested to why we're just building off the Hauser point. Why we didn't see Tory Craig when my man was running out with jelly legs. Like, I want you to think about it like this. You can the 3-point shooting, the spacing, whatever. Hauser did not get the ball. He didn't get the play. They weren't looking to get Hauser involved in the offense anyway. So,
but
if
it's
you're
not
gonna,
about.
Yeah, it's the principle. It's like they can't help. You have to keep them honest. I get it, but they didn't ever test him. Like, you never know. He could make one. You at least try it. What is it different than having either the stars have to take some, like, Jaylen made some big shots in the fourth quarter, but some of them were fucking difficult shots. And I'm not saying you should take the ball out of his hands in favor of Tory Craig threes, but, I think it might have been valuable to get some stops instead of having Hauser just be like, they had a double team of points in this fourth quarter off of Garland. They double teamed off of Garland and he hit an open three.
Yeah.
Tory Craig isn't better than that.
No. Like, it completely destroys your offensive spacing. Like, completely. And I get maybe Tory Craig
to the discussion we had last pod. Now, we will not have like a war over this over time where we're having different battles and victories throughout the course of the postseason. But it is it is more possible that Tory Craig gets hot shooting threes than Sam Hauser on Jelly Leagues gets hot defending.
It destroys your offensive spacing. It gives them a free pass to help over and kill drives when you're already struggling to score the ball. And for what it's worth, I'm not saying Tory Craig's not a better defender than Sam Hauser. Like, he probably is at this point. But if he was this godlike defender that was going to solve your problems, he wouldn't have been on the fucking buyout market. He wouldn't have been a free agent free to sign. Like,
I'm not saying
I understand. I understand there is he has fresher legs. He is this. He is this.
Yeah,
there
it's
is
more
also
of like even to give him a break.
He also doesn't know the defensive scheme. He doesn't know, like, he is new in that sense of he's going to compromise stuff on defense. He's going to do this. He's like, it is what it is. And also give him a chance to shoot. Motherfucker couldn't hit the side of a barn last 2 games ago when he actually got playing time. Like, I don't know. I get it and I understand, and maybe you do want to look at it and see that, but like, unless you have fucking Jayden Springer, ironically enough, like, Tory Craig wasn't going to keep up with Donovan Mitchell and Jerry Garland. Like, he's just not. He's not built like that to be that type of defender. Neither is Sam Hauser. But the point is, no matter who was on the floor, they were going to target the weakest defender, and the gap between Tory Craig and Sam Hauser on defense, even in that state, is significantly smaller, in my opinion, than what it would have done for their offensive spacing. And also, like what Joe said, if you're ever going to give a chance for Sam Hauser to improve on defense, now's the fucking time to do it, because it's a regular season game and you want him out there in those spots in the playoffs. True. Tory Craig is not going to play in those spots in the playoffs. I don't give a fuck what's happening. He's just not. So you might as well give Sam Hauser the experience to do it.
This is the Wolverine meme of me sitting here thinking about Jayden Springer. Just like, damn, would have been nice to have
Springer
him.
also would not have been on the floor, just to add it. Because if they're going to help off Tory,
he would have changed the game.
If they're going to help off Tory Craig in this hypothetical scenario, we're going to thought they would look at Jayden Springer, blow him a raspberry, blow him a kiss, and let him do whatever the fuck he wants. That's how dog shit it would have been for offense.
That's fine.
It's not fine. You know it's not fine.
A serious defensive conversation. They give up switches too fucking easy. There was a play late in this game where they gave a switch at the Garden logo, and it was on Mitchell. They let Jaylen get off of Mitchell. What is the consequence of going under a screen
at the end of the third quarter too?
Like, why would you not do something? Like, you don't have to go over the screen at that logo.
Yes.
If he takes a three from the arena logo at that point of the possession, you did a good job. Good job. He didn't get to his right hand in the paint. He didn't hit a floater. He didn't create a step back three in rhythm. No, he took a shot that probably 95% of the players in the NBA should not take. I don't know why they are so addicted to switching on defense when they don't have to. Sure, if it's right at the 3-point line and, you're really at risk of him pulling the three, sure. Not that far away. He's not Steph Curry.
Yeah, no, the switching is bad. I mean, I'm going to do a whole thing tomorrow in the video of how they failed to defend Donovan Mitchell and how they got baited into certain things and basically the flip-flopping of their thought processes on both ends. But we went through this whole thing. This might have been the best Jayson Tatum game I've ever witnessed, and they fucking lost. Like, this was...
and Jaylen.
yeah, we don't have to go too much longer because we're running up on the end of the show anyways. But subplot, unfortunately, because they lost. Fucking like Jaylen Brown was amazing, and any other night this would be Jaylen Brown and thumbnail phenomenal. This was, I think, the best Jayson Tatum game I've ever seen in person. Like he was doing whatever the fuck he want. Evan Mobley might be the defensive player this year because Wembanyama's hurt. Jayson Tatum made him look like Georges Niang. Like he made him look like the slowest motherfucker, useless on defense. He might as well have had Trae Young in front of him. Cooked. Same thing with Jared Allen. Jared Allen played 23 fucking minutes because he couldn't guard Jayson Tatum. Kenny Atkinson went with a lineup with neither of them on the floor. Neither of his two all-star and former all-stars on the floor because they could not guard Jayson Tatum. And he had 3 blocks. And he was fucking awesome on defense. He had a stop against Donovan Mitchell late in this game that was sick too. Like this was an incredible Jayson Tatum game. I'm frustrated they missed it because I wanted to talk about it and do a video. But holy shit. Jaylen Brown, too, 100% deserves credit. Make a ton of tough shots, attack mismatches. The guard screening for Jaylen Brown to get Darius going, other people on him. The big screening to get the bigs on Tatum. I wanted to do a whole fucking video on the screening, and I can't now. Unbelievable game from those two.
I can't, like, we've talked to, not we, Celtics community as a whole, used to love to talk about, like, the 30-30. If they both have 30, like, they're, like, 30-1 or something crazy like that. This was way better than that, and they still managed to lose. They didn't get much from the bench tonight. Pritchard was a minus 34. Didn't really score much. Like, could have used some bench production today on national television with one of the other 6 Man of the Year candidates on the other side of the floor. Like, that would have been kind of cool. This is like, I don't think Pritchard was bad on Thursday against the Pistons, but this is 2 games in a row he's been outplayed by other dudes in this conversation. Like, if you really care about this award stuff, like, that's not great. I don't think it erases what he's done all year, but it's not great.
I also think the Celtics got so many ideal matchups that they didn't really like. You know what I'm saying? Like the Cavs, they got ideal matchups, and it wasn't like the Cavs helped off of guys to open those passes up. They just accepted the mismatches and tried to defend in space. So I don't think it was necessarily Pritchard was bad. I think it was the game plan didn't really call his number as much as it could have.
Back in my day, we used to watch players go at each other, the superstars. Now they're all afraid. They go for these switches.
What are we even fucking talking about?
Back in the day, Pierce would go at LeBron. They would guard each other. Nobody would screen for him. They would go head to head. Now the screening is smart.
That's why the score was 80-80.
Give me the 80-80s.
You don't believe that. I know in your heart of hearts you don't believe that.
I mean, I think it has charm to it, but I also think like the winter has charm to it. So, I mean, I don't know. I think the Celtics are more well equipped to defend attack every possible switch offense than the Cavs are come playoff time. I just wish they wouldn't be like, okay, we have to switch no matter what because there's a screen.
Yeah. I don't know. We'll see, man. Jesus Christ, some loud noise in the garden. Anything else we missed that you wanted to talk about? I think we covered most of it. Good, fun game at the very least. Tough one to lose. Drew Peterson played for 90 seconds. So did Tory Craig. Played for 3 minutes. Derek White had 16. Blah blah blah. I think that about covers it. I don't think
we talked about the important stuff. We don't have to go down the box score. It's just Cleveland is a little bit more real than I thought they were 5 hours ago.
Sure. Okay. Well, appreciate y'all for tuning in. Make sure you leave a like, subscribe, and all that same. Take it out.
Yeah, thank you very much for listening and watching. Make sure you leave a like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell. We're here every single day with new content. I guess we technically are here with new comments every single day. We're just saying something different. New pods drop Tuesday, Thursday, Sunday. Game recaps are up the morning after each game. Other videos are on the channel between to keep you up to date with all things Celtics. You can also find us streaming live before each game, doing pregame, half hour before. Come hang out. Ton of fun. We're doing prize picks, doing GeoGuessr. Don't want to miss any of it. You can find us on Spotify and Apple too. All pods and recaps are up there. So if you just want the audio versions, go ahead, follow. They'll go right to your feed. Email us, hbtcpod@gmail.com. You know you got something to say. You know you're all pissed off behind your phone screen right now or keyboard, and you want to fire off some takes. Go ahead, hbtcpod@gmail.com. Our socials are at How About Them C's for Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook's the name of the podcast. All the streams are there. They're on YouTube. They're on Twitter. Jack's Twitter's at JacksOneNBA. His TikTok is at JacksOneNBA. His new videos will be up every single day. He's breaking it down. Unfortunately, he can't do the screens.
Maybe not daily, but
a lot. A lot.
Okay. I can't. Daily's a lot. They take like 3 hours.
All right. Well, he's working hard.
I don't want to
give him his
expectations.
Give him his follow. And you can follow me at Sam LaFrance NBA. That's it for us.